The man behind it all? Theodore Robert Bundy. He studied psychology, worked on political campaigns, volunteered on a suicide hotline. He looked like the perfect gentleman. He was a predator in disguise. Ted Bundy didn't just kill women. He hunted them, smiled while doing it, and convinced the world he was innocent until it was too late. The woman stepped out of her university dorm, keys in hand, the winter air sharp against her skin. She didn't notice the man limping by the parking lot, struggling with books and a cast on his right arm. He looked harmless, polite, clean-cut. He smiled and asked for help loading something into his car. She smiled back. That was the last time anyone saw Linda and Healy alive. Between January and July 1974, panic quietly spread across Washington state. Female students from various campuses were disappearing without a trace. They weren't connected by school, social group, or routine, but they looked similar. Dark brown hair, middle part, young, smart, independent, always between 18 and 25. First Linda vanished, then Donna Manson, then Susan Rancourt, then Roberta Parks. All gone. No signs of struggle, no broken locks, no witnesses. Just empty beds, unmade plans, and missing faces. No one could find a pattern, except for one detail. All of them had been seen, at some point, speaking with a man. Always polite. Always needing help. Always with a fake cast. Before anyone could point fingers, Theodore Robert Bundy was already planning his next move. Born in 1946, raised by a family who told him his mother was his sister and his grandparents were his parents, Ted grew up in a web of lies. He was smart, graduated with honors, studied psychology, attended law school, even volunteered on political campaigns. No one imagined what lived beneath his surface. He had once loved a woman named Stephanie Brooks, elegant, well-educated, out of his league. When she rejected him, something inside him fractured. Every woman who followed looked just like her. He wasn't killing at random. He was recreating Stephanie over and over again, just to destroy her. In public, Ted was charming. Neighbors liked him. Women flirted with him. Friends praised his intelligence. But while he shook hands and spoke softly, he was creating a kill kit: handcuffs, ropes, a crowbar, duct tape, and gloves hidden in his car. He drove through university campuses, searching. Sometimes pretending to be injured, sometimes impersonating a police officer. Once a woman offered to help, he hit her with a tire iron and shoved her into his car. By the time her body was found weeks later, it wasn't just murder. There were signs of sexual assault, post-mortem violation, and in some cases, revisits to the burial site. He didn't want company. He wanted ownership, even in death. When Washington got too hot, Ted moved. Utah, Colorado, Idaho. The pattern continued. Women vanished in the same silent, bloodless fashion. Investigators began to piece together a possible cross-state serial killer, but nothing stuck. No prints, no cameras, no survivors, until one night in Utah. Carol Duranch was approached by a man in a police uniform. He said someone had tried to break into her car. She agreed to ride with him. Minutes later, she realized they weren't going to the station. She tried to open the door, it was locked. The man lunged. Handcuffs missed one wrist, and she kicked the door open, jumping into the road. She lived. Her escape would eventually crack the case wide open. In 1975, Bundy was pulled over for a broken tail light in Utah. Inside his car, police found the handcuffs, ski mask, rope, and crowbar. He was arrested, but remained calm, collected, even cocky. He represented himself in court, played mind games with lawyers, and never broke his charming facade. But investigators weren't fooled anymore. Evidence was stacking. Witnesses were connecting dots. His calm was unraveling. But before his trial could begin in Colorado, Ted escaped. Twice. While the country searched, Ted had crossed into Florida under a new name. In the early morning hours of January 15, 1978, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In just 15 minutes, he attacked 4 women. 2 were killed, 2 others survived with massive injuries. There were bite marks, blunt force trauma, scenes so brutal they looked like horror films. A month later, he abducted and murdered 12-year-old Kimberly Leach, his youngest known victim. This wasn't about lust anymore. This was desperation. He was spiraling. Bundy once told a psychologist, "I don't feel guilty for anything. I feel sorry for people who feel guilt." But behind his cold detachment lay deep-rooted rage. He was a narcissist, a sociopath, a power addict. He murdered women between 18 and 25 not by chance, but because they represented everything he couldn't control in real life: beauty, independence, rejection. He wanted them vulnerable. He wanted them broken. And above all, he wanted them to disappear under his power, forever. Bundy's trial in Florida became a media circus. Cameras rolled. Crowds cheered and booed outside the courtroom. Women in the gallery stared in awe, as if he were a celebrity, not a killer. He defended himself, cross-examined witnesses, and even proposed to a woman in court. In 1979, he was found guilty of murder. The judge called him wickedly evil. He was sentenced to death. On January 24, 1989, at Florida State Prison, Ted Bundy was executed by electric chair. People gathered outside the gates. Some cheered. Some danced. Some held signs that read, "Burn, Bundy, burn." Inside the prison, silence. Just one final flicker of power, gone. He confessed to 30 murders. The FBI believes there were many more. Bundy's story wasn't just about violence. It was about manipulation, image, and how far evil can hide behind a smile. He taught the world a painful truth. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes, they look like law students, politicians, boyfriends. And for the families he destroyed, the silence he left behind will never end. They trusted him. He killed them. And the world finally saw what charm can truly conceal. True Crime Cycle. Like, share, subscribe. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Ted Bundy born evil, or did he become it?